Hi, this is Brandon Coppernoll with TechWise Academy, and I'm with Ryan Hunter here. And it's kind of crazy, Ryan. We were just talking about this. It's been 5 years since we started TechWise here in Muncie, and um, I think it's just a really good time to kind of reflect a little bit, spend a few minutes, and chat about this, and share with the families and students who have been part of our classes now over the years. And I want to start things off real quick and just kind of ask you, okay, so looking back 5 years to now, how has the landscape changed for computer science and coding for kids? How has that changed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the landscape has drastically changed over the past 5 years. I remember going into my son's elementary school 5 years ago and talking to the principal and like assistant principal about coding and why they should start doing it in their school. I didn't really understand how we would teach coding to children, why that would be useful. And then a few years later, now the states across the country are mandating computer science inside the curriculum. I think we were kind of ahead of that, maybe too far ahead of that for most of the schools to really grab on and start using it. And now the schools are really implementing it and starting to integrate that into curriculum across the board. And so I think um, that has changed drastically. We've been introduced to a lot more tools specifically for teaching kids how to code. And so Roblox has got its own platform for allowing kids to create games. Scratch has always been a big one, and they've released a new version of that. Lego's a big player in the game, and just all of these free tools and resources for students to get involved in coding has really changed over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to agree with that, and I also think the level of enthusiasm has grown with the teachers that we've worked with. You know, they were really apprehensive in the beginning, and once we kind of had a chance to talk to them, they've really dove in, and now we have some that are helping us in our classes, in person at the Coding Connector. So that's really cool to see.
So you talked about that a little bit. How do you think we've evolved over this past 5 years?
Yeah, so I'm going to share a story that you and I laughed about after it was done. First time we did a Minecraft class, and we are like, "Hey, bring your computer. Here's how you can set it up ahead of time to make best use of this class." And we ended up spending a lot of time really just doing IT and making sure their Minecraft setup was ready to go. And we ended up getting the coding, but there was a lot of setup time. So we involved from there by partnering with the Innovation Connector and
Yeah.
making sure that now there's no obstacles, right, to get to class and learn computer science, learn coding. And that was kind of that first step. And now I think you and I have learned a lot over the years, and just working with the kids and making sure that we are somewhat learning at their pace too with them. And we've also learned how to structure our classes a little better to make sure that we give them enough time to explore and have a lot of fun. But as you probably remember, the first time that they discovered how to make sounds into the game and record themselves, um, the volume level definitely grew really
There's a
fast.
reason why we put that at the end of class, right?
Yeah, now it's at the end of the class, and there's a good reason for that. So I think we evolved a lot in just how we've structured the curriculum. The kids are still having a ton of fun. At the end of every class that I'm teaching, I ask them, "Hey, did you have fun?" And almost always it's like, "Yeah, that was
Mhm.
great." And I'll follow up. Did you learn anything? And most of the time they're like, "Yeah, I learned something new." And it's great to hear that they are having fun while in our class and they're learning something. So
Well, and that's on purpose, right?
yeah,
Like we learn better when we're enjoying what we're doing. We'll take the initiative outside of our classes to go home and continue programming if it's something we enjoy as well. And
mhm,
so we make it enjoyable on purpose, um, so that students will continue to explore and be creative with coding.
yeah. So I think now we're exploring more virtual options, right, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I think that has opened the door, as we've seen, to some new ways of learning and engaging the kids, even virtually, and taking our offline classes online. And I'm really happy with seeing how our first one really panned out.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I shared a memory that just kind of made me laugh, but what's a memory that stands out to you in the last 5 years?
There's a lot of, and I knew that you were going to ask me this, but there's a lot that really has stood out over the years. I mean, we've held coding camps and robotics camps for with Southside Middle School, with the 4-H in Randolph County. We were over there with the Economic Development Council doing robotics camps. I think if I was to abstract a little bit to a generic moment for me, that's always my favorite moment in the classes. It's when you can visibly tell that a student has grasped the concept. So there's this aha moment that goes off in their head, and you can see that in the classes if you're watching and paying attention. We're working through something, they may be struggling, then all of a sudden it clicks for that student, and the rest of the time, they're flying through the puzzles. That happened for me personally in college, my first computer science class. I struggled for a while, didn't really understand why we were doing what we were doing, and then it clicked one day, and I was like, now this is great, and this is going to be my major now, right? And so that's sort of my favorite type of moment that we have in classes.
I think for me, another favorite type of moment, I'm going to use my son for this example, was he wanted to learn computer science. He wanted to learn coding, and the first couple of classes he took, he wasn't feeling it, right? He wasn't sure that's what he liked to do. And then we got him into the mobile development class,
Mhm.
and he loved it. That was kind of his niche. And once he did that, he took off. He started doing it on his own. He even attended our Python class and installed it on his home computer and things like that, just following the instructions that we gave in class. And I think the memory that stuck out for me is, don't get discouraged if the first class isn't exactly what they expected or pictured. There's so many different avenues to learn how to code or learn computer science, and just being willing to try new things and keep trying until you find it for you. That really stuck out for me, and I think I've seen that in other students that have come in the classes, but I just had that personal experience of,
Right.
he wanted to learn, and I was a little disappointed. It's like, man, I'm sorry you're not like getting what you thought out of it. And then, I think it was his third class. He's like, I really like that mobile app stuff. I want to do that on on my tablet. I'm like, great, let's go. So
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you talked a little bit about our online classes that we're coming up with. So what do you think? Where are we going next as a company? What are we going to do next?
yeah, yeah, I knew you were going to ask that question, and I was trying to think how the best way to describe it. I think there's really kind of two things. One, we're seeing how we can model our classes into an online setting. So then, the families that have been doing business with us continue learning, because we know that a lot of their kids they're all in. They come to several classes a
Yeah.
year and try different things. And I think we're trying to get that going for them. But I think that also expands what our mission is, which is bringing computer science education, or just exposing computer science to students, and letting them try it out and see if that's something they want to do, and really help them with their problem solving, right? And I think the other thing that we are looking at doing is what kind of uh, bite-sized content can we do to just kind of continue the learning, continue the education, giving more examples in an online format, so that you can continue learning or trying new things in between classes. And then when you come to our classes or take our online classes, they will be more structured, and provide even deeper computer science principles than you might get in a 5-minute follow-along video on how to do something.
Right.
So I really think that's where we're going to go, and I'm really excited about that. And what do you think? Where do you think we're going to go?
Yeah, I agree. I think we're continually evolving. I think where I'm excited is, I read a lot about how we learn things and how students learn new things. What are the best ways to learn new things? How do we keep retention high and have students really engaged in the classroom. And I think computer science affords a lot of that opportunity with students. There's a lot of opportunity to fail, which I think is one of the best ways that we learn. If something doesn't work out the way that we thought it was the first, or that it should the first time, that we get the opportunity to correct it immediately. And if you're like me, I remember more of the times where I messed up on a test or on a quiz or on something in the past. I remember specifically the answers that I got wrong as opposed to all of the things I got right, and that's really sticks in your brain over time. Um, so I'm personally working on that and kind of always going through our curriculum, learning more about just the effects of different types of learning and how we can introduce that in the classroom. I'm really also excited about working with more teachers in the area. And you mentioned we brought more teachers on to help out with our classes. I think that's a win-win situation that we can allow teachers to moonlight in the evenings, help out in our classes, learn computer science while they're in a teaching environment, and get paid for it. Like, I think it's a win-win for educators in our region and for us too, to have their experience in classroom management, and being able to kind of control the classroom when they're there. So I see that partnership or that relationship continuing to grow as well.
Yeah, definitely. And so there's a lot to be excited about. I look ahead at, we've done great in these first 5 years, and there's a lot to be excited about in these next 5 years for us, but also the families and teachers and the community around us. So I want to take a moment to just thank you for taking the time today, Ryan, but also I want to thank the families and the students for their support and the participation over the years, the learning with us
Mm-hmm.
along the way. I'm encouraged by the excitement that I see in class, and I know you are too. And I want to thank the Innovation Connector and the Muncie community for their partnerships with us and helping us bring computer science education to the community. I know we've had partnerships with the Boys and Girls Club, the Tech Summit that we did a couple of years ago, and things like that. And I look forward more to more of those opportunities as well. And again, lastly, thank you to all the teachers who have given us feedback and just help us get better. And I think that it is a win-win, and it's really exciting to see how this has grown in 5 years and where we'll go next. So here's to another 5 years. So
Yeah.
so thank you, and I'll see you next time.